Joining me on Impact Catalyst today are Jen Henius and Ellen Mackay, and they have started a cool new social enterprise called Yoga for Caregivers, and we're going to dig into that a little bit. So a lot of people know what yoga is. A lot of people understand caregiving. Why did you decide to put the two together?
Sure. Well, I think right now what we're experiencing is a public health crisis, right? The amount of caregivers that are out there, there's more than 50 million unpaid family caregivers across the country who are taking care of a loved one. And for those of us who may not be caregivers right now, it's likely to happen to you, right? I mean, at this point, where 1 in 5 of us are serving as a family caregiver. And so that's really astounding. And right now, what really prompted us was COVID, right? Because caregivers are experiencing increased stress, increased health risk. They're under significant burden right now, and just trying to find a way to be supportive and give back. I've spent personally in my career, I've been working with veterans, families, and their caregivers for almost 20 years. And I just recently left the federal service where I was serving as a senior health system specialist in VA's National Caregiver Support Program, where I was leading policy and program development on a small team there. So when I stepped away from that role in January of 2020, I found myself in the middle of COVID and just trying to find a way to give back to the health community, finding a way to offer support to caregivers. And so that's really the impetus of what prompted the development of yoga for caregivers. Then I can't, this isn't a community I can harness resources or lead alone. And I came to meet Ellen Mackay, who's just been a wonderful resource for us and shares a passion for caregivers and actually has a caregiver journey of her own. So maybe that's a good segue to introduce Ellen.
Yes. So I graduated from the University of South Florida with a degree in social work and kind of worked around a little bit. And I found my way to yoga, which was a huge help for me just in my own life. And I started teaching in 2007 and just continued from there. Really spreading yoga is a really big passion of mine. And when I started my own caregiving journey, taking care of my mom when she was diagnosed with lung cancer, I really used a lot of the tools that I had learned from yoga in my own life. And during that process, I was also getting more experience and doing some more trainings. And I created a program for yoga for caregivers. And it just happened that a few years later, Ben came along. Hey, I happened to see you on Facebook. What do you think about this group? Would you like to be a part? And it's really, it's very dear to me because caregivers are really experience a lot of isolation. And this whole Yoga for Caregivers group is really about creating community and wellness. So it's a great combo of the things that we're both really passionate and want to just share with people that really need it.
So it seems like there are a few elements of awareness that are useful to build with an initiative like this. I think one aspect would be that sort of a lot of people are that aren't traditionally caregivers are sort of caring for each other as people who are, by technical definition, healthy or dealing with the pandemic and the mental toll of that, and to some extent the physical, financial stress and all of those things. So we've got, if you include that definition of people who have to take care of people in their family that have those, really the number of caregivers has bloomed. And so I would think, do you think a piece of it is going for folks who know and who are already doing yoga, but to understand that this is something, an awareness they should bring to their yoga? And then the other side of that would be just introducing the concept of yoga to caregivers who may not be using it. So those are a couple elements. So what is sort of your awareness breakdown?
Yeah, so I think our goal is really to make people aware of yoga as a practice that really has striking benefits for caregivers. I mean, there certainly might be caregivers out there like Ellen, who has sort of already been introduced to the world of yoga and is definitely familiar with the myriad of benefits that yoga and meditation can offer. So I think we are really interested in reaching caregivers who maybe don't have an awareness or maybe have some misunderstandings about what yoga is and isn't, right? Because I think a lot of people think, yoga is just about, sitting with your legs crossed and, oming into the hours here. And that's not what it's really about at all. Or people envision, like myself, people standing on their head and doing interesting balancing poses, right? And people think yoga is not accessible to me. And that's really a myth, right? I mean, we can really make yoga accessible regardless of your quote unquote health status, your age, your ability. There are modifications that we can do. And there are really simple, practical exercises that we would really want to engage caregivers in to help calm their nervous system and move them from fight and flight into the parasympathetic nervous system where they can find rest and digest, which is really important for sort of, calming that nervous system and lowering levels of anxiety and stress. And you don't really need to take an hour's class to reap the benefits of what yoga and meditation can offer. So that's something else I think that we want to educate people about. Ellen offers some really amazing short classes in our community, just focusing on breath work. Maybe Ellen, you want to highlight some of the things you've been doing?
Sure. With my experience as being a caregiver, you really don't have a lot of time. So you might have little pockets during the day, 10 minutes here, maybe 15 minutes, maybe even have a luxurious 30 minutes at the end of the day. But sometimes getting in a traditional hour and 15-minute practice is just not accessible. So in the group, I offer short meditations, again, breath work. So breath work is one of the best, easiest tools to use to calm the nervous system. Just learning those 1-2 minute breathing techniques, you can use it anytime, anywhere. And that's really what I'm hoping to provide with the classes that I do. Just giving little snippets of information that people can use throughout the day when they start to feel their shoulders rise up or, they're clenching their jaw. What can they do in 2 minutes, 5 minutes that they might have? So I did a wake up routine this morning. I did a get ready for sleep a few days ago. I have a video just for neck and shoulder tension, one for low back tension. So just kind of trying to hit the main points that might come up for caregivers that they can just go to, take their 10-minute break, 15-minute break, and hopefully feel a little bit better to continue on.
So what's the logistical process then to connecting with that content? Assuming someone watches this show, goes and checks out the Facebook page and says, I get it, I want to try this. What happens next?
So there's a link to our group on our Facebook page, right? And so we just welcome people. You don't have to be a certain type of caregiver. We're open to all family caregivers who are interested in learning. And so you just need to check out our page and join the group and basically go from there. We also have established a YouTube channel. And so we're trying to work with members in the wellness community to put together a wellness workshop series during the month of November, because November is National Family Caregiver Month. And so we're making a lot of great connections with other people in the community who are interested in supporting us and supporting family caregivers too.
So when they join the group, then is there do you have pinned videos on Get Started Here, or do they have any kind of a program, or what are the sort of suggested next steps to actually engage with the yoga?
Yeah, so we're in the group daily. We're doing postings. We have replay videos there. We have yoga instructors, because this is really a volunteer-based group. And so we have a yoga instructor from New Jersey who, generously donates videos and things like that she pops into the community. So that's been really helpful. So there's always something going on in the community, and you don't have to attend a live session because, like Alan had mentioned, the caregiver schedule is variable. And as long as that material is there for them to tap, that's our goal. So we're new, right? And there's just a couple of us, but we are wrapping our arms around some resources and trying to come up with maybe a schedule of things. And when we're starting to push out content, we're just building right now.
Ellen, you built a course, actually, Yoga for Caregivers, a program. So what are some of the unique aspects of that yoga that are specifically for caregivers?
So when I was doing my training for my 500 hours, which is just kind of like the next step up in yoga teacher training, I had to create a program for a group that was in need of yoga that might not naturally reach out or have it be accessible to them. So I really chose caregivers for that reason, that going to an hour and 15-minute class is just not accessible. It's usually just not something that can work in their schedule. So my plan was really what I'm putting into practice for this group, which is so wonderful, of short, easily accessible practices, and really practices that are available for all different people. So a lot of times people that are drawn to yoga are accessible, or they've already been moving in some kind of way. And that's not really always true for a caregiver. Caregivers can range from, in all ages, all different areas of where they live and what they do. And so it's not always a typical yoga class is not always an accessible thing. So I offer a lot of chair classes, or classes that you can do without the traditional yoga props like a mat or blocks or blankets, those kinds of things. Just things that are just easy to do. You can do it in your house. If getting onto the floor isn't a thing for you, a chair is a great way to do it. So I really try to offer a wide variety of options, like Jen said earlier, and really short classes that are accessible. So if you have time, maybe you have 45 minutes, and you can stack up a couple different practices and add a meditation at the end if that's something that you have time for and you want to mix it all together. But really, it's creating these small little segments that you can add together as you want, and in the end, creating a community. Because again, the isolation can lead to depression and anxiety and all that comes along with that. So if we can have that community and not feel alone, that's just another wonderful way to just encourage and support, empower one another as caregivers.
I think another important aspect of that is Ellen, she has a lot of experience in slow, mindful yoga. And then our, society, there's a lot of interest, in fast-paced, aggressive, we call it vinyasa flow, or powerful yoga sequences or styles. And in Yoga for Caregivers, we are bringing things very much back to the basics. We are offering this restorative practice. We're doing gentle practice. We're teaching about safety, but also we're introducing a very powerful practice that's sometimes dismissed. And that is the slow, subtle, mindful movement that's very powerful and grounding and has a lot of good benefits. You don't have to do the strong cardio, hot yoga workout to really reap the benefits of yoga. And so this is another aspect, I think, of yoga that we're really trying to teach caregivers about, is the power associated to this slow, mindful yoga that helps people more easily access that rest and digest mode, and helps to calm the nervous system. And when we can do that, then we can have decreased, inflammation, decreased blood pressure, decreased depression, decreased stress, decreased anxiety, when we can find ourselves in that slow, mindful space. So I think that's another aspect of what we're trying to offer.
It's a wonderful initiative. Our caregivers can't get enough support. A lot of them are not trained for this and find themselves in these situations, and then their support, because there's a repetitive nature to it. Their support systems start to wear down over time, and so they really need a concerted professional community, efforts and things like this to fall back on. So. Right now, it's a Facebook group, so it's facebook.com/yoga, 4 caregivers. I'm sure if you search Facebook, you'll find it, and we'll add it to the bottom of the video. Really appreciated hearing about it. Really appreciate that you're doing it, and we hope this helps get the word out a little bit.
Thank you so much, Joe. I mean, I think we really envision that Yoga for Caregivers is going to be a catalyst for something much broader
Oh, you owe
in
me a
our
quarter.
community.
Saying catalyst. Yes, I think it will be. And I can already feel the energy you're putting into it and the times that you reached out to connect and whatnot. And I know that energy will take you far. Our community is very receptive to people who put energy into good efforts. And I know it'll be received warmly, and you'll get help everywhere you turn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your support.